Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Bodied, a Cloud9 fancast. I'm Havokpus, your host, joined by Frozencreek as always. We got some really good news, Frozen. Got good news lined up.
We have a lot of things lined up for this episode. We did a little half episode over the weekend, but this is going to be an episode of news, not just worlds, but also worlds.
Yeah, mostly worlds, but we'll try and inform everyone of some other goings on. Speaking of, probably the biggest story, it was announced via, I believe Forbes broke the story. Cloud9 received a whopping $50 million in uh, investment. I believe it's like stage B investment. Um, and they were also on the list of upcoming $1 billion startups. That's also done by Forbes.
Yeah, apparently, making the world's quarterfinals was more than just another notch in the belt, but actually it financially paid off. I'm sure this was in the works for a really long time, but $50 million, I feel like is a big deal. That's, if going by memory, that's by far the biggest investment that we've gotten so far.
Yeah, it's bigger than last year when we tried to raise. I think it was around like 20 to 30 million for Overwatch League and NALCS franchising. So this is a pretty extraordinary amount, and I think a lot of that's going to go to the. I think the article said 20 to 30,000 square foot like facility. It would function not only as sort of the main headquarters. It would also function as sort of a practice area for all the teams to kind of be under one area and practice together and do various functions together. Probably also for content creation or uh, also they wanted to post like their own little like local events for people who are maybe like up and coming esports people or anyone who's just like big into gaming and wants to do live event stuff. So it's gonna have like a very multi-purpose kind of angle to it, but the facility I'm really glad that that is still underway because I want one. I can't let Team Liquid have all of the fun.
Yeah, I was kind of disappointed that that seemed to fall uh, below the wayside. Nobody was talked about it since I think the last round of investment, but it again popped up, and since it's such a healthy sum of money, I feel like they could actually invest in the future and into all of their organizations at this point, like some kind of like training facility kind of thing is actually like a really big deal. Like, I'm sure they contract out with like gyms, apartment complexes, computers, and all that shit. And having all of that in like one area is actually like a really cool idea to not just grow the Cloud9 brand, but also like kind of grow the Cloud9 organization and make it like one big family.
Yeah, I really like the concept of regardless of what the I guess sort of branch players fall under, there is one place that everyone can kind of go, and I think that does maybe help. The Fortnite people can get to know the League of Legends people more. The CSGO people can get to know Rocket League more, and I really like that. Also, to tack on to all of the investment, there was a similar story that came out a few weeks ago saying that Nielsen, if everyone's any heard of the Nielsen ratings, which sort of determines like which shows are being watched or whatever. Uh, Cloud9 was rated the number one esports organization in America. So out of all of the esports organizations, Cloud9 has the most, I guess, market penetration. which is also really impressive.
I mean, it makes sense. Like, they by far have like some of the biggest names in all of esports. Really, like, we're gonna get to it later, but Skadoodle's a really big name. Mango's huge. The LCS team is huge. Overwatch League got pretty big, and in all these leagues, like, we've been extremely successful, like above and beyond almost every other team in the world. Like, maybe you can make an argument for like G2 or something, but like Cloud9 being a North American organization, like, we're a cut above everyone else.
Yeah, I think that it's hard to compete. I think maybe the only North American organizations that would come close would, I think, be Optic has a pretty big fan base. I think I could say TSM and CLG would also be ones that could potentially come close, but I think that Cloud9, I think as a whole, is just too good. They're too big. They're too good. But
Yeah, that's been the recurring theme, and now we're raising more money than anybody else.
yeah. But let's let's move on to our next big story, which is Counter Strike, and it is with somewhat of a heavy heart, somewhat with a bit of skepticism. Skadoodle has announced that he is taking a step back from Counter Strike. He's not going to be doing that as much anymore. He will stay with the team until they find a new fifth member. Uh, and I say that I am skeptical because if anyone remembers, going back to, I believe it was around March, this same thing happened where Skadoodle was like, "Yeah, I think I'm going to retire. I'll stick around until we find a new fifth member." And then he was just like, "Oh, just kidding, guys. I'm staying. Haha." Uh, so part of me is skeptical if he will stick to retirement this time. Uh, while another part is somewhat sad that another of the Boston five are leaving.
Yeah, it. I guess I don't know if we should call it the end of an era yet, because it's happened so many times at this point. But like, it kind of is like the end of an era. Like, if we don't find somebody soon, he might come back and like keep filling up for a little bit. But like, the long term or the mid to long term goal is to find someone to fill in for him. And even if he has to like come in and pull a high every so often, like, this is probably his last hurrah in a way. And he's given Cloud9 so much, so it's sad to see him go. But I think from um, a performance standpoint, it is time for this CSGO team to take a step in a new direction, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think that definitely with his recent performance, I think the team has suffered. Like even recently before this announcement, he wasn't even he has not been playing as sort of the designated opera anymore. They have completely swapped him to just being like a support rifler, and automatic was the opera, which kind of says something since that's somewhat of a drastic role shift. I'm not sure. I think people have said that he was a rifler in the past, but it still seems like somewhat of a kind of a drastic shift in how the team dynamic is. If like your dedicated opera for years and years and years has switched off to a different role, that's kind of saying something. I have no idea who they would even pick up. Some people have said Cirque from excuse me, from Energy. Um, uh, I have no idea. There are a bunch of candidates that would probably be good. One issue is that since Counter-Strike is a very European dominated esport, there is a risk of, if you want an S tier type opera, you may have to get a European player, and that puts a wrench in things because Cloud9 usually likes to keep things in North America. And if you bring in another European player, 3/5 of your roster is European, and then you would have to move regions and then go over and be a European team, which complicates things.
Yeah, do you know the rules behind that? Is it just like a European player, or do they need to pick up like
You so
multiple to be
so the
considered?
region that you participate in depends on the, I think, the nationality makeup, or the region makeup of your squad. So if you have uh so in Optic actually did this, I believe. So Optic used to be a North American team, but they changed their roster in a big way, and I think got like 5 European players. So they switched. But the rule, I believe, is you have the majority of your team, so 3/5 of your team has to be from the region that you're playing in. So for North America, for example, you have to have 3 players from North America to be in a North American team, for example. So that's where it gets tricky, in that, if you want someone like, I believe Scream is uh, is a name that I've heard thrown out some, and I believe he's French. So if you put Scream in, you would have Flusha, who is European, and Golden, who is European. I apologize that I can't remember the countries that they're from. I feel like I should, but I can't remember for the life of me. But so since you would have 3 Europeans, and then Automatic, who is Canadian, and then Rush, who I believe is American, uh, that would then turn them into a European team, and then I would kind of throw things uh, out of what Cloud9's usual strategy is.
Yeah, I guess I didn't realize that they're European. So yeah, I saw that they put out a call on Twitter to like try and find new players. I think it'd be kind of cool to like try and pick up someone newer to the scene who can kind of grow and like eventually become a leader on the team in the future. But this CS:GO team doesn't, or this CS:GO scene doesn't quite have as much turnover from new to old talent as something like League of Legends has tended to. So I'm not sure what the long term goals and impact of that would be, but I think that it would be cool to find like a new like American talent somewhere.
Yeah, I just want them to finally nail down a stable roster, because ever since the major, it has basically been a revolving door of people leaving, picking up new people, and then them leaving, and it's just really hurt, I think, the team in terms of just finding results and growth. Because if you keep taking out a piece and then putting in a new piece, your team can't really grow. So it's really frustrating, and I hope they just find somebody and then just work on that. Don't change anything. I don't care if they suck. I don't care if the team is getting all these bad results at tournaments. At least play around with it and try to grow and make it work from something, rather than just continually trying to swap pieces in and out constantly.
Yeah. I guess I think that's pretty much all we can add about that at this
Pretty
point.
much. Well, if you are a London Spitfire fan, you will be excited for this next piece of news. So there's 3 basic pieces of news. So the first is Closer, who is essentially the substitute support player for London Spitfire. He has been released and has signed with the Dallas Fuel. This makes sense considering Nuss has a lot more synergy with the team, and I feel like Nuss is a more capable main healer than closer. So closer would be riding the bench the majority of the the time anyway. So and he is a starter caliber player, so it makes sense for him to leave and want more play time. I can't argue with that. It's also at the end of the season, so he at least didn't try to leave midway through. So in light of that, the team has made two new acquisitions. The first is Element Mystic's Guard. He is a DPS player. His Sombra is regarded as one of the best, I think, at least currently, or at least in the Korea Contenders division, which is great. Sombra is a pick that usually fluctuates between going in meta and out of meta, so if we ever need a Sombra strat, now we have a Sombra specialist. And I think they're also fairly good at other DPS heroes, but when you have Prophet Birdring, you're just going to play Prophet Birdring. And finally, we have a bit of an unknown, a diamond in the rough, if you will, with Krillin. They are a flex support player. No one knows a lot about him, but he is a flex support, and if London sees something in him, that they're going to basically snatch him from obscurity and saying like, okay, you're gonna be our sub, and you're gonna be training under like Bedosin. I think that says something about his ability. So with that being said, what do you think of these pickups, Frozen?
I think it's kind of interesting or it's kind of interesting to project how it's going to play out for the second season of Overwatch. Like, I'm not gonna say that the first team roster was like unfallible or something. They hit a lot of uh rough patches throughout the season, so adding more options to the team seems like a really good idea. I think that these players are probably being brought in to be obviously role players. Like, they're not expected to start every single match or maybe even half of them. So I think digging into the contender scene to promote them to an Overwatch League or a roster is a really good idea, because they're going to be, I guess, hopefully, more thirsty young players than a lot of the dead weight that we had to unload throughout the season last year, because we pretty much dumped everyone from the second team who ended up not playing throughout the year. So hopefully these guys can add some variations and can always be there ready to be called upon when we need them.
Yeah, and I think that's actually probably the correct way for London to go about things. Instead of feeling like two starter caliber teams, you have one roster and have people that are either specialist roles or people that can sort of sit back and take more of an apprentice type thing and really try to learn from these really skilled players. And honestly, I think that's basically how they won the championship, right? It wasn't through making all of these insane substitutions. It was, we have our lineup, we will play our lineup, and we will just be better than the other team. So I think this is the correct way to go about it. The 12-man insanity roster was just too cumbersome and just created more problems than it solved. So, stay lean, stay quick, and that's honestly all they can do. Also, just to close out sort of our Overwatch segment, for those that are starved for Spitfire action, the Gilded Gala event is starting this weekend. They will be participating in it at London with a few Houston Outlaws players, I believe. I'm not sure if it's the whole Outlaws team or just a few players, but a wide variety of game modes will be on display for this exhibition event. I'm really looking forward to it. It should be super fun, and I will really look forward to discuss it on the show.
Yeah, it is a super exciting event. I'm a college football fan, so we have a really big game this week, Michigan State. But I'm going to do my best to tune into everything because there's a shit ton going on this weekend.
Oh yeah, it's your pocketbook's a little full there because League of Legends was popping off. The World's Group Stage wrapped up. There was a draw that happened, so we know who's going to be playing what for the quarterfinals. Uh, Frozen, I think first we should just jump right in and discuss who C9 is playing.
Yeah,
If,
we
if you,
can start there.
okay,
So let's start with how the bracket is actually set up. So on the left side of the bracket, in the top left is Afreeca Freaks and Cloud9. In the bottom left is Fnatic and EDG, correct?
I believe so.
Yeah, and then in the top right is RNG and G2. In the bottom right is KT and IG. So it's really set up to be an explosive quarterfinals. I think overall it's probably like each team is given a pretty good matchup. I think RNG probably has the easiest chance to qualify. But yeah, let's talk about our game. I know there's been a lot of chatter of saying that Afreeca might be the best possible draw that we could get. So I'll let you go and argue that side of the debate because I know that you were pretty excited going into seeing this.
So this world is really interesting. The quarterfinals especially because it feels like there is a lot more parity between each team, all the teams, than previous years. And I think as long as I'm just happy that Cloud9 avoided RNG and KT, and they're on like the other side of the bracket. So if C9 gets far enough, we wouldn't have to see them until finals. Um, I was kind of hoping maybe for Fnatic just because we have played Fnatic before and we've beaten them. If you remember Rift Rivals last year, that's the latest I believe that Cloud9 played Fnatic, and we beat them both times, I think. So I'm a bit confident there, but they're looking scary good. But yeah, I think Afreeca is fairly beatable. I mean, it'll be tough, because it's best of five versus the second Korean seed, so they're not pushovers or anything. But from what I have heard in the news, from interviews from Fnatic players and Afreeca players and other players at Worlds, everyone is saying Cloud9's looking really good and they're looking pretty tough. So I think if there was ever a chance for Cloud9 to go to semis, this might be the year that they can.
Um, I guess I don't totally disagree, but I don't think I totally agree with that. I feel like the best time to go to semifinals was last year against Team WE out of
I do
China.
agree. WWE was by far I think, our easiest quarterfinals opponent.
Yeah. Looking at Afreeca Freaks, they qualified as the Korean second seed, I believe. They finished second in the spring split in the regular season and finished fifth in the regular season in the summer split. They ended up falling in the semifinals to Griffin, who was a fantastic team that I was extremely sad to see not make it to Worlds.
They choked in the gauntlet, correct? That's why Griffin isn't there.
No, I think they also choked in the gauntlet.
Okay.
Yeah, they fell to Genji in the gauntlet in game 5. They beat SKT, or no, sorry, Genji beat SKT, then Genji beat Afreeca. Sorry, Genji beat SKT, Griffin, and then they knocked out Kingzone. So that's how Genji got here. So
Oh yeah, that's right.
yeah, so Afreeca Freaks qualified by championship points. They are obviously a very good team. They faltered a little bit in the spring. I've been looking at some of their stats on Oracle Elixir, and it doesn't seem like they're like some kind of fantastic Korean team, but they seem to be quite efficient in how they play the game, and a lot of what they do on the map is really focused around playing a vision game. Based off the summer regular season team statistics, they have the most awards per minute by almost half of a word, I guess. They cleared the second most words a minute by 0.01. Their average words cleared a minute was the highest in LCK. So that's pretty much a summation of how they play. Their Baron percentage isn't insane. In fact, it's average, just below Genji. They're not specifically getting the first Baron either. They got it in less than half of their games. So I feel like this is a team we could turn up the pace on and possibly frustrate them. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there was an Afreeca player too who got a warning before Worlds started because of toxic behavior. Is that correct?
I think so. I know Sven was among the list. But it was a long list of players that got like formal warnings, which if it's like a bunch of people, I think that's nothing to be super worried about because from what I've heard, like playing playing in Korean solo queue is actually really frustrating. Just by like watching like sneaky streams and like the tracking the pros stream, like some games will go like the kill score will be like 20-20 or something, and it's just like, what have you guys been doing?
Have you ever played a bronze game though?
I have
20 to
Frozen
20 is
because that's
nothing.
about my skill level.
Yeah, 20 to 20 is nothing there. I've luckily escaped bronze and silver, so it's more like 20 and 20 every game, but it's not a bronze game. Um, but yeah, they are a fantastic team, and I think where it's going to be really interesting and fun to watch is going to be the battle in pick and bans, because Afreeca is kind of known as a team that likes to have some fun, I guess, which is a good way to put it. They're full of pocket picks, they're full of mind games, and it's going to be fun to watch them go against a Reaper.
Yeah, and Reaper has been praised throughout Worlds for his his drafting, and I think that Cloud9 can kind of go see if they can go toe to toe with that because we have a lot of pocket picks ourselves, especially just in the top lane. Like Licorice seems to be able to play anything, so it'll be really hard to just kind of lock him out of something that he is comfortable and skilled on. And Jensen can kind of do either the supportive mid lane through stuff like Zillion or Oriana, or play something more carrying like a Syndra or a LeBlanc. And Sneaky is tilt proof basically. So we have a good handful of stuff. I think mostly it's just going to come down to what Cloud9 did in the second round of the group stage, where it's not really paying much attention to the overall meta and just sort of playing their style and playing how they want to play their game, and just ensuring that they play the game how they want to play it and execute well through that.
Yeah, they definitely have a way that they want to play the game. I guess do you want to talk more about about the positions, I guess. Looking at the roster, you can probably expect to see Keen in the top lane, Spirit in the jungle, who is a familiar name if you've watched any kind of Western League of Legends. Kuro in the mid lane, Kramer, ADC, Tucson, support. I feel like this is one of the more non-star-studded Korean lineups that we've probably faced up against at this point, playing against Genji and SKT the past couple worlds. But it really is a solid roster. But I think the fact that they don't have any stars, like massive names, is kind of helpful to us because there isn't someone we can look at and be like, oh, they're gonna beat the shit out of us. And I feel like we can probably hold our own if our drafts are on point.
Yeah, I think it's just all a matter of everyone playing at the top of their game and not really making a lot of mistakes. I think it's just force Afreeca to make more mistakes than you, and I think that they can. There's a possibility that they do win. I don't want to call it really because it'll be a tough game to call, but I think that I will say that there is a possibility that they for sure win.
Actually, you know what? I think it was the Freaka coach who got a warning. Is that what it was?
I don't know. I can't remember that. If it's the coach, that's even funnier.
I
Like
found
not
it.
even the players getting in trouble. It's just the coach just yelling at someone.
Yeah. The head coach was fined $1,500 for negative behavior based on the frequency of reports and his prior disciplinary record in the LCK.
That's hilarious.
He was reported in nearly 80 games, which was more than 70% of the solo queue games he played in September.
What?
They saw no evidence of him inting, and his toxicity varied over the reported games. The high rate
That's
of reports coupled with previous disciplinary incident and the LCK justifies a heightened fine.
that's hilarious.
Yeah, that's not a good role model
Oh no, but
for your players. I think the good news on that is if we can maybe frustrate him with a really stupid cheese pick or cheese strat in game one, he might start to, I guess, maybe become unfocused. I'm not sure if he's shown any of that so far by losing a game or not, but it would be an interesting way to pull out the series.
yeah, I want to see us take a game with Hecarim top, just because Licorice is our pony boy, and he's gotta stay golden.
Yeah, I think that would be sweet. It's gonna be hard to pick and ban out really
Yeah,
anybody in
it'll
the roster.
it'll definitely be pretty crazy, but I'm super pumped. I'm really excited. I think this is the first time that I've been super duper excited for quarters and just worlds in general because some worlds have been good when I've started watching League, but others have been kind of kind of meh because it's just like, oh well, SKT is gonna win, and so it's and Cloud9 kind of gets knocked out of quarters early, so it's not as fun, but yeah. Do you want to talk about at least like just a little bit the other matchups and what you think? We don't have to go through all of them, just any that you in particular think would be fun.
Let's just go through and knock out the time. So wait, I'm confused. So I have Friday, October 19th for the first day. Does that mean that the games start at midnight on Friday?
It's confusing.
Technically
It's
Friday?
it's it's yeah, it's that
To
confusing
11
thing where
p.m.
it's like, okay, so you said midnight. So was that Friday's midnight, or do we have to wait till Saturday to go to midnight? It's really yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Can you take a look because your central time zone?
Uh,
And I cannot
phone.
the time zone?
Let me see.
I assume it mean. Oh shit, that would be tomorrow then. Tomorrow being Thursday because we are recording this on Wednesday.
No, it wouldn't be on Thursday.
I guess that means I should upload the podcast like immediately.
Yeah, it starts Friday 19th, at least for Central Time at 11 p.m. So 12 a.m. Saturday Eastern Time.
So that means our game is Sunday morning / Saturday night.
Yes.
Okay, so hopefully you guys stuck with that.
We figured it out, you guys.
I'm still just as confused as I was before, but I think we got it. So the first day matchups is the right side of the bracket, KT, Rolster versus Invictus Gaming. Is there anything that you want to say about that game?
Um, not really. I mean, I think KT's looking like them and RNG look like the best teams in the tournament. So I think they're probably gonna walk over uh their respective opponents. You know, I don't think there's not much that I can really say. I am really excited for Fnatic and Edward Gaming. That's something that I really want to watch. Um, just because it's sort of I've always considered Fnatic to be sort of Cloud9's European sister team because we've had similar histories. We have kind of played the game the same, and we are, they sort of have sort of similar big fan base. You could argue, I think, with the recent developments of Vitality, they could be our sister team, but it doesn't matter. The point is, I like Fnatic, and they're sort of like European C9. And then you have Edward Gaming, which has our boy Ray playing. So that should be a really great game. And I'm really excited to see who wins that one.
Yeah, I think that's going to be like the closest game. If I were betting on it, I would bet probably on EDG, just because I feel like the Eastern teams are a class above the Western teams just in general, but I wouldn't say it's by much. Depending on what the odds were, I would probably just take EDG in that matchup. I think the next most interesting matchup might be the KT Rolster IG game, just because it is a battle of two Eastern teams, and both of them will kind of feel hard done by getting the draw that they did. And I do think that there is a universe where IG can knock off KT Rolster, and that would probably have a better chance of happening than us knocking off Afreeca. So I think that's going to be fun. I think the RNG G2 game is probably the most lopsided, but
Yeah,
based off the
I think RNG just wins that. All they have to do is play through Uzi, and Uzi just destroys everything.
that's my first instinct. But I do know G2 has played pretty good. They did win some games that they probably shouldn't have in the group stages, and they did show some good patience in macro at times. So I guess my semifinals would probably be KT versus RNG, which is unfortunate because that would have been a really good finals match. And then EDG, and I really want to pick Cloud9, but I know that it's
Do it.
the unlikely option.
Don't be a wuss.
In my pick'ems, I did not pick Cloud9, but I might go back and change.
I did the meme pick'ems. So I did C9 beats Afreeca, then they face Fnatic, then C9 beats Fnatic and goes to the finals, and then I have RNG beating KT, and then we beat RNG in the finals.
I'm here for it. Crazier shit has happened in the past year, so
If it does
I'm here
happen and
for
they
it.
do end up winning the Triple Crown, I will be super happy.
I will do something. We can decide it after the.
I will drink a glass of water.
I will drink many glasses of beer or wine or whatever is requested of me. Then I will sing a song or something. I don't know. Uh, if we win the or the quarterfinals match, we can figure out some kind of bet.
Yeah,
For,
there does.
for
I
both
may
of us.
get like a small Cloud9 tattoo on my ankle. I may even just do that regardless, just for how overall how great the year has been for this organization. You know, they won the Boston Major, Overwatch League championships. PUBG has been doing really well and placing fairly high in events. You know, uh, Jacob Hysteria has been doing really well in Fortnite events when he's been participating in them. You know, League of Legends has had a bit of a roller coaster, but they ended up obtaining basically the goal that they always set out each year, and that is go to Worlds, get to quarterfinals. So overall, this might be maybe the best year Cloud9 has had so far, at least like historically. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that, but I
I would think so. I think it would be cool to get a tattoo of like the London airplane from the logo, like a little bit altered one with like Cloud9 logos inside the
oh yeah,
airplane
that'd be cool.
somehow. Yeah,
And
I
you can have
don't
like
know.
stars for like one star for the major, and then another star for the Overwatch League championship.
And then another star for for the World's Championship.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be sick.
All right. Um I think that's about it cuz we will probably be back before the semis.
Yeah, I think next week we should be back
Yeah.
before semifinals.
Yep. Semifinals are next weekend, so we will have time to break down whatever happens against Afreeca.
Yes. All right. Well, thanks you one and all for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please, of course, follow us on Twitter at C9Bodied. You can tweet at us or email us at bodiedfancast@gmail.com. You know, if you want to talk about the games or whatever, hit us up, and we will acknowledge you on the show. But thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
All right, bye guys.